All right, video introduction on what's going on. So I'm rebuilding the saw. It's a 268 XP, a broken crank. You can see the PTO side broke off the crank. I have a bunch of 268 XPs, so got a clutch sitting around. Got my new crank. I've got a couple of top ends. It's going to get ported. I'll do that all in another video. It's going to get ported and everything. I think I've done my research on my timing numbers. But what I'm going to do today is I haven't got my bearings yet, but I'm going to yank these bearings out. This one on the PTO side, see if you can hear this, is crunchy. The one on the flywheel side feels fine, but I'm going to replace it anyway. Actually, it's a little crunchy too, but it felt fine before. I might have blown some dirt in it or something when I was cleaning these because they were a mess. So here's all the parts. There's two top ends for the 268. Got everything in here, ready to go. But what I'm going to do is, normally what I would do is I would heat the case right here, drop on the appropriate size socket, and just tap out the bearing. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's in the manual that way. You can do it that way. But I decided, after watching Matty Olson and talking with him and stuff, that I was going to try pushing them out with rod. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this one cold and try and push this one out cold. And then I'm going to yank the seal on this one and push this one out. And I might just throw some heat on it just to show you how simple it is. But you can do these both cold. I've seen Matt do it 100 times. And this is 1/2 inch all thread, a bunch of different washers. I'll show you a couple things with that when I get into it. But if you are serious about doing this and you have a lot of saws to do, I got a 272 there. I don't know what's a part in there. I know that's a 372 tank. I've got 4 or 5 down in the garage to do. You should contact Matt Olson and get his kits for this. Okay, he goes into great detail making kits with sleeves and the whole 9 yards. But just yanking these bearings out is pretty simple. And I actually bought from Farmertech this kit right here, which comes with the little sleeves, left-hand threads that go on the cranks, and it looks like that thing will pull cranks. So I'm going to try that eventually. I used this to split the cases for the first time. I bought this at the same time from Farmertech, and this split the cases in 2 seconds. Worked great. Push and not only split the cases, but push the crank out, both sides. But yeah, before this gets too long, I'm going to do that. And if I have time later, I'm going to show you why you can't do compression tests with your cheap compression tester on a chainsaw. I'll show you one that works and one that doesn't. And if I don't have time, I'm going to do that after. Put it up after. But try and get you guys in a good place here. Get this thing so it's not going to fall over. So you're not going to see my face, but you'll hear me talking, and I'll try and get this. Looks like I just want to see how high I can see, because I want to make sure I get this all in frame. So, you could get a ton of these different all threads, but this is 1/2 inch. It goes through, the center of the bearing fairly close. And what I'm going to do to yank these out is I'm going to put the case halves back together. You're seeing me do this for the first time, so kind of learning as I go here what I need. But I got this stop collar, and it appears that as I'm cranking down the nut, tightening it to push the bearing out, this can only tighten into the center. So that's going to hold this in place. And I've got a washer on here the right size to cover the flange on the opposite side, like that. All right, so that's simple. Now you can do this a couple different ways. You could drop, you know, a whole fistful of washers down on here to contact the outer race to push this through. And I think these are 7/16. These are 1/2 inch, and the 1/2 inch one just doesn't go inside. So you can mess around with that, or you can grab a socket with a half drive. This one is 1 inch. And it fits in there pretty perfect. So I am going to try it with that rather than stacking up the washers, but you could stack up the washers if you don't have a bunch of half drive sockets. You could put a bunch of these washers on there to give you the clearance to tighten down against. But we're going to do this together, so put that on there. I'm actually going to throw a washer against it just to reduce so that this nut doesn't bite into the socket. And through, obviously, we're going to thread this nut on 9,000 miles. And I haven't cut this all thread yet. This is just the way I bought it today. It's taking 9 years to get this thing down there. We're going to push this through cold. Now I can tell just as I spin this, it's going to spin the other side. So we're going to hold on to the other side. And if I'm wrong on the direction and that makes that loosen up, then I got a couple extra nuts here. So I get them all at Tractor Supply. Get a couple extra nuts so you could just put them both on the other side and jam them together. Now I know that this is a 3/4. So let's say you don't have one. It looks like a regular chainsaw scrunch will go on there. Let's try and do it with that. So we're going to tighten down. And you could go crazy and get the ratcheting, you know, ends on these things, and like Matt does in his videos, and really make this fast. Pushing it right out right now. I can see it coming on the inside of the case. I'm only pushing on the outside race, even though this bearing's no good. You could just beat it out in 2 seconds. It's just pushing it through. No heat, no nothing. It's only, I just checked the temp on the case. It was 58, the temp on it. It's not exactly 1,000,000 degrees in here, but you can see I'm just doing it with a chainsaw scrunch. Alright, bearing's out. The other side, again, you're going to learn with me as we go here. But so that was, you know, fairly easy and fast other than having to thread this thing on 9,000 miles. Probably want to cut this all thread in half. The other side, I got to pull a seal. I'm going to show you how to do that too. It seems to be one of those things that everybody's afraid of. So I've always pressed bearings with a press. I actually have an old Delta drill press that's heavy duty enough that I can do it on that too. I do the 660 bearings on the new kits. There's actually a 660 kit sitting over there in the corner. So there's the bearing, pushed out, no pressure on anything. So that went perfect. So that's kind of proof of concept. On this one, we're going to take, and when you have locating pins in these things, all right, we see the posts, you break the cases. Just rock them apart easy so you don't take these pins and break the case where you guys constantly show pictures of it and say how the cases came broken, even though you know you took them apart and you went like that and you took that locating pin and you broke the case open. So we know what you do, but just try not to do it. So when you're pulling, here's a flathead screwdriver. Still a flathead, still works. And you can see the hook that I ground in it. And it's fairly sharp. This is my seal puller. I'm going to get under the seal, pry it out, hopefully. There it goes, pop, seal's out. Now it's inside, so you guys can see. You see the dimple on the top of the seal right there. You can see that I didn't go, it was inside the seal, so I didn't ding the sealing surface on the saw. All right, so now we're going to put this back together. We're going to press out the other bearing. And you're learning with me. First time I've ever done it this way, although my buddy Matty Olson does it on video like he's walking to a party. So on this side, we've got a different diameter here. We have to get a big enough washer on this side to seal against that case. And I'm just going to go hog wild. This is why you get a million of these. I even got some smaller ones too that I'll have to drill out to fit over 1/2 inch rod, but so that'll work. So here we are, we got it like that. And I've already sized this, so this one, now this one's a rare case. I can't get on the outside race on this, but like this bearing's junk, so I'm just going to press it out for proof of concept. Because of the flange on here, you can't get on the outside race of this bearing, so you could push it through just on the inside race. Let's see how this fits. It's kind of fitting up on the balls. Rather than me grabbing, if I had drilled out one of those 3/8 washers to fit over this 1/2 inch rod, it would go right in there, but I didn't, so we're gonna have to, let me just see if I can grab a smaller socket. See where this fits. See if I just want to get it right on the inside race, and of course the socket doesn't fit over the rod. Good video. And it looks like my other half sockets are not going to do that. So we're just going to press it out with the 3/4. You can see how that 3/4 fits in there perfect, and that's how I sized it. But it's going to push. It's going to push on. Oh, you know what we can do? Let's do this. Flip it around backwards. So that will, this side will bear on the inside race. And does it feel like it's going to get stuck? It feels like that's a little tight. Of course, I'm going to run into these problems, right? Let's see if 19 millimeters, just a teeny bit smaller, a teeny bit bigger. It's bigger. So that's not going to work. This is tight. Just keep it stuck in there. Goes that way though. All right, so in this case, rather than me doing it, I need to drill out the 3/8 washer to go over the 1/2 inch rod, because it won't. All right, but I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push it out just the way it is. And same thing, just stay cold. Let me get this set up, and then I'll toss some heat on it really quick. I'll show you how to heat them. Torturous part. Definitely cut your alt thread long enough to go through here without having to do this. Get an impact gun. You get an impact gun, spin the other side till it's down there, I guess. So let's heat this up. All right, so we're gonna, now that I'm in place, so that I don't have to put it all together. Make sure you can see. Yeah, so I don't have to put it all together while I'm screwing that thing on there, and it's going to cool off. I'm just going to heat it a little bit. Now when you heat them, you just want to stay off the bearing. Heat around the case just a little bit. You do this with a heat gun, it just takes longer. As long as you got no rubber in there or anything, there's no seal in it. The book on this is to heat it to like 240. If you heat it with 240, you can basically just tap the bearing out. This map, this gas is getting.
I'm sorry. You okay? You fell down? Good catch. Then I scared you further.
So right now it's at 150. Let's just do it at 150. You can go all the way up to, like I said, 240 is the spec on it if you look in the book. And it's just quick, it's just coming right out. I don't want the socket to get stuck in there. And that's not a ton of heat, so I don't need gloves on or anything. Pushed it right out. You can come up with, if you go to Tractor Supply to buy these, you buy them by the pound. So, you know, all these washers and nuts, except for the all thread and these two couplers, except for the all thread and these couplers, the nuts and all the washers cost me $3. This isn't even hot enough to not pick up. The bearing's not hot enough for me to not pick up. And this bearing feels okay, but it's not great. It might have just had some grit in them because this one feels okay too. There's not any movement in it. These are OEM Husqvarna bearings. And yeah, so now the case is not hot enough for me not to touch. You see how easy that went apart. So now I'm ready for my new bearings when they show up. And you can press them in the same way. You know, you stick a washer on the inside on the outside race, and you can press them in the same way with this, you know, with this same rod. Press them until they're flush. This one goes in against the seat. This one just goes till it's flush on the outside until the you want to leave it back far enough so that when the oil pump goes on, it has a piece that goes down inside here. You have to mic that and make sure that your bearing doesn't come too far this way, but it's basically just flush on the inside. You should note that when you do them. So that's that. Bearings are out of that. That was pretty simple. How much time I got on this video? 18 minutes. All right, I'm going to show you why your compression testers don't work. Let's get this all on one. Let me close up my box here. So I have two compression testers here. One is an OTC, good kit. One is a cheapo. The reason, I'm going to put you over here for a second so you can see this from the side. And I'll show you everything as I go through. The reason that your compression testers don't work and they won't hold the right compression on a 2-cycle engine or on a chainsaw is because on these that go into your spark plug hole, there's no Schrader valve on these. What happens is the case volume and the volume of this tube add up to so much that it gives you a false reading. Now what I tried to do was I tried to press into this cheapo one a stem with a Schrader valve on it, and then tried to use it, and it still didn't give me the right reading. But I tried to. Now you could take the Schrader valve, a Schrader valve out. For those of you who don't know what one looks like, you can see in here, inside your tire stems on your car, there are Schrader valves. That's a Schrader valve right there. These are Schrader valves in this kit. They're replacements for what's in this. On these, they have a Schrader valve on the tip that goes into your saw. So it decreases the total volume that this tube takes up, and it only gives you the compression that's inside the case of the saw, between the cylinder and the case. And that still could be a little teeny bit low, but it's as close as you're going to get. So with the cheapo kits, they don't have that. And this, what I tried to do was, I tried to make this so that when you put on the adapter, before, this will just screw right into the spark plug hole. But it would have been too far with the Schrader valve, so I made it so that the Schrader valve was flush with the end of the adapter, but it still doesn't work. So I'm going to take two compressions, one with this kit, cheapo kit, and one with the OTC kit, and show you what that looks like. Get these out of the way. So I'm going to pull up this, let's see here, get you guys up here. So, oh, shit. Maybe. Oh, yeah, my tripod's all going crazy on me. All right, hopefully it's going to sit here. Actually, let's see if I can get you guys aimed up just a little bit without messing this thing up. Okay. All right, so hopefully it's going to stay there. So we got the OTC kit with the Schrader valve in it. We got the cheapo kit that I even put a Schrader valve in. You can see it now, but they don't come with that. And we're going to do two compressions on the same saw. I'm going to see what we come up with. Hopefully, without knocking over that stinking camera. So I'll just do it right on this little tool that a friend gave me to fix. Okay, we'll get this one threaded. I didn't watch this one actually pull a good compression down. You don't need to tighten these down to 9,000. Just tighten them against the O-ring. That's enough. I'm going to yank on this. I'm going to have to do it off the table so that it doesn't knock you guys over. But so you should pull it until it stops climbing. Right now, this one shows, I don't know, just 31 pounds. I can tell you for a fact this saw runs, so it's not 31 pounds. Take over at least over 90 to 100 to get the saw to run, or it won't run at all, won't start. Doesn't have enough compression. So that's the cheap kit. Let's do the OTC. I should just let this off. Anybody in the world would take that cheap kit, they'd say my saw's not running, they hook that thing up, they'd take a compression on it and they'd say, see, it's, oh, the saw's junk. Now we're going to do it on the OTC. I'm going to pull it till it starts up, until it stops climbing. just at almost at 140. So this saw's, the cylinder is completely good. It's 140 pounds of compression. So that is why, if you buy a cheap compression tester, you don't get real compression. Figures. So that one shows 32. This one showed 140. Because of the Schrader valve in the tip right there. This one, even modified with a Schrader valve in the tip, doesn't work. Now, why, I'm not exactly sure. It didn't seal in there good. You could drill and tap for a Schrader valve in there. This Schrader valve that was in this thing has got a funky setup on it. I was just trying to do one with what I had around the house. But you could drill and tap and get that in there and see if you can get it to work. But this kit, what is the number on? 6005. It's 5606 is the OTC number on this kit. So don't mess around with the cheapo ones. They're not going to give you the right compression on the chainsaw. So 26 minutes, perfect. And yeah, so bearings are out. One cold, one hot, or one cold, one warm, just with tools that you got lying around, and some all thread. Like I said, you can put the new bearings in, same setup. When you put them in, you got to make sure they go in straight. So if you try to reinstall this and you start pulling on it and it doesn't go, you got to back it. You got to take your setup out, and it'll be a little bit crooked. And you just take a hammer and just tap on the side. Like right now, you can see this is crooked. Okay, see how that's crooked? So I would tap on the high side until I get it sitting flat. Put the thing back in and just pull on it some more. And then once this is straight, it will just pull in just as easy as I just took them out. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. It's not hard. It's not violent. It's, you know, the right way to do it versus tapping them in and tapping them out, even though you'll go into 268 Husqvarna manual and they'll tell you to heat that up to 240 and bang that out. Heat that one up to 240, bang that out. You can freeze the bearings if you want. Heat it back up to 240, put the bearing in, heat it back up to 240, put the cold bearing in, tap it in if you have to. It doesn't matter. Just tap on the outside race. That's what the Husqvarna manual tells you. But yeah, so that's it. And this works great from Hutzel. Worked terrific. This one, I might have to modify this to pull the crank. Looks like they did just a god-awful job of machining this groove for different saws, it looks like. But the Husqvarna mount, which is DO25 mount, fits in this slot and in this slot. And this is slightly off-center. So I need to modify this hole, make it bigger this way a little bit so that this will line up, it looks like perfect. And this thing will pull the crank, and I'm going to try that when I get it. Now, you can't just freeze the crank and heat the bearing and drop it through. We'll see how it goes, but I'll probably video that too. So that's it for right now. I hope you guys are having a great morning. If you haven't voted, go out and vote. See ya. Bye.